the most shocking woman in the entire Bible, wasn't a queen, a prophet, or an Israelite. She was a prostitute living in a city God had already sentenced to destruction, yet somehow she became an ancestor of Jesus Christ. How did the most unlikely woman in history become one of God's greatest heroes of faith? This is the incredible true story of Rahab.
She wasn't born into royalty. She had no noble bloodline, no high status, and no sacred heritage. She was simply a Canaanite woman named Rahab, living on the margins of Jericho, one of the most heavily fortified strongholds in the ancient world. The world had already stamped her with a label of shame, but history reveals a timeless truth. Grace doesn't ask for a spotless background. It looks for a believing heart. Rahab wasn't chosen because of her reputation. She was chosen because of her faith. A rare kind of faith that dares to move in the dark before the light ever appears. While massive walls towered over the landscape and armies gathered near the Jordan River, a quiet revolution was taking shape inside a small house on the city wall. No weapons, no tactical armor, just a red cord, a hidden rooftop, and the courage to trust a God she was only beginning to understand. This isn't just a story about surviving a battle. It's the story of how divine mercy crosses enemy lines to rescue an unexpected soul, and through her, changes the direction of history forever. For 40 long years, the nation of Israel had wandered through the desert. An entire generation had passed away in the wilderness, unable to overcome their doubts. But now, a new generation stood on the brink of their destiny. They had grown up on stories of incredible miracles, the plagues that humbled Egypt, the parting of the Red Sea, bread falling from heaven, and the pillar of fire guiding them through the darkest nights. Their leader, Joshua, stood at the edge of the Jordan River. He was a battle-tested soldier forged by decades of waiting. He carried a clear command: be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Standing directly in their path was Jericho. Jericho was a fortress. Its stone walls were so thick that entire homes were built directly inside them. The Canaanites believed the city was unbreachable. Yet, panic had already slipped through their iron gates. The people had heard what Israel's God had done across the desert, and their hearts were melting with fear. Joshua took strategic action. He selected 2 trusted spies and gave them a quiet order. Go, scout the land, especially Jericho. The spies slipped across the river and entered the city undetected. They needed a secure place to stay without drawing attention. By divine direction, they ended up at Rahab's house, perched right on the outer edge of the city wall. Rahab recognized who they were immediately. But unlike the rest of the city, her heart had already been turning toward the God of Israel. Without hesitation, she welcomed them in and hid them under bundles of drying flax on her rooftop. Suddenly, heavy knocking shook her doorway. The king's soldiers had arrived. Bring out the men who came to you. They are spies. Rahab stood composed, looking the soldiers in the eye, and calmly replied, Yes, the men came here, but I didn't know where they were from. At dusk, when it was time to close the city gate, they left. If you hurry, you might catch up with them. The soldiers fell for the distraction and rushed toward the river crossings. The city gate slammed shut behind them. While the king's men chased shadows into the night, the spies remained safe beneath the flax on Rahab's roof. Once the danger passed, Rahab climbed up to the roof and looked at the 2 strangers. She spoke with absolute conviction. I know that your God has given you this land. We have heard how he dried up the Red Sea and defeated mighty kings. Our courage has failed because the Lord your God is God in heaven above and on the earth below. She made a bold request. swear to me that just as I have shown you kindness, you will spare my life and the lives of my father, mother, brothers, and sisters when the city falls." The spies agreed to the covenant. "Our lives for yours. Tie this scarlet cord in the window where you let us down. Gather your entire family inside your home. Anyone inside this house will be protected." Rahab lowered them down the outer wall with a rope and immediately bound the scarlet cord to her window, a single strand of red hanging against the massive stone wall, marking her home for salvation. The spies returned to Joshua with their report. "The Lord has truly handed the land over to us. The people are trembling." When the time came for battle, God gave Joshua a strategy unlike any military plan in history. For 6 straight days, the Israelite army marched around the city once a day in total silence, accompanied only by 7 priests blowing ram's horns before the Ark of the Covenant. No shouting, no battering rams, no swords drawn. Just steady, quiet obedience. On the 7th day, they rose at dawn and marched around Jericho 7 times. On the 7th lap, as the horns blasted one long, piercing note, Joshua shouted, "Shout! For the Lord has given you the city!" A thunderous roar echoed from the crowd. A shout of victory declared before the physical evidence appeared. Instantly, the ancient, unconquerable walls of Jericho crumbled to the ground. Yet amid the dust and destruction, one section of the wall remained standing, the house with the scarlet cord hanging from the window. The 2 spies rushed inside, bringing Rahab and her entire family out to safety. Every single person sheltered under her roof survived. Rahab did not just survive the fall of Jericho. She was welcomed with honor into the community of Israel. She married a leader in Israel named Salmon. She became the mother of Boaz. She became the great-great-grandmother of King David. And generations later, her name was etched into the sacred genealogy of Jesus Christ in the Gospel of Matthew. A Canaanite woman from a fallen city became a direct ancestor in the most important lineage in human history. The message of the scarlet cord still resonates across the centuries. It reminds us that God does not judge us by where we started, but by where our faith is placed. You might be standing in front of your own Jericho today, facing walls that seem impossible to break, or carrying a past that feels too heavy to drop. Remember Rahab's story. God doesn't wait for you to be perfect before He steps into your life. He simply asks you to believe. When the world builds a wall around you, faith hangs a window and hangs a promise right through it.